We all know George Orwell is a master of creating these bleak, unforgettable worlds. But in his novel, A Clergyman's Daughter, he does something just remarkable. He doesn't just build a world, he builds a prison around his main character, Dorothy Hare, and he does it all in the space of a single morning. So let's dive into this and see how he constructs this portrait of entrapment minute by painful minute.
And right here, this is where it all begins. I mean, the very first line isn't some gentle awakening, is it? It's an explosion. Orwell specifically chose the word bomb to tell us, right from the get-go, that Dorothy's life isn't peaceful. Her day, every day, starts with this jolt of violence and dread, and you better believe that's going to echo through everything that follows.
So that bomb goes off, and it kicks us right into the first part of Dorothy's prison, this relentless, unforgiving sense of duty. Her morning isn't about, getting ready for a new day. It's a brutal ritual of self-punishment that begins long before the sun even thinks about rising.
What really gets me is the sheer joylessness of this whole routine. This isn't just a tough morning. Every single step is a deliberate act of penance. She wakes up in the freezing dark. She has to fight with a fire that literally needs kerosene poured on it just to light. Then she forces herself into a cold bath precisely because she hates it. And while she's shivering in this icy water, what does she do? She reads an overwhelming to-do list, a perfect, awful reminder that her day is not her own.
And you've got to understand, this isn't just about being busy. This is a conscious choice. Dorothy denies herself the simplest comforts, like a proper towel or a warm bath, as a way to discipline her body and her spirit. Her life is basically a meticulously scheduled campaign against any kind of personal ease.
Okay, so we have this physical hardship, right? Well, that's just one layer, because this physical struggle is mirrored by a massive spiritual one. It's this internal battle between the cold, empty institution of the church and her own desperate search for a real, genuine connection to God.
The church she serves, St. Athelstan's, is literally and figuratively falling apart. The building itself is crumbling, being eaten away by beetles, and the congregation, it's pretty much gone. For this morning's Holy Communion service, there is exactly one other person there, and to top it off, her own father, the rector, delivers the prayers in this bored, mechanical voice. It's as if he's saying, "I'm your priest, not your friend, and frankly, I despise you." There is absolutely no warmth here, no comfort at all.
And this is where it gets really intense. When her mind wanders during the service, thinking about her pride and some sewing she did or a silly story, she takes out a long pin and pricks her arm until it draws blood. It's this desperate, physical act of self-punishment, trying to literally force herself into a state of piety, because the ritual itself offers her nothing.
Orwell just brilliantly illustrates her dilemma here. On the one hand, you've got the formal church service, which is a total failure. Her mind is wandering, she's disgusted by the thought of sharing the communion cup. But then, on the other hand, something shifts. She just happens to glance at the open church door and sees a single ray of sunlight hit some leaves, making them shine this incredible, otherworldly green. And in that one simple natural image, bam, a flood of genuine faith washes over her, and for the first time that morning, she can actually pray. Her spirituality is real, but it exists outside of, and maybe even in spite of, the very institution she serves.
So she's trapped spiritually. But Orwell, being Orwell, doesn't stop there. He pivots hard to a crisis that's way more immediate, showing us the next bar in her cage, the suffocating, relentless pressure of debt.
While she's getting ready that morning, the thought of this one particular bill hits her with what Orwell calls a sickening shock, a veritable physical pain. This isn't just some nagging worry in the back of her mind, it is a constant torment, an anxiety so bad that just walking down the main street becomes this terrifying ordeal.
And here it is, the number that's haunting her. 21 pounds, 7 shillings and 9 pence, and is 7 months overdue. By giving us this exact, specific number, Orwell makes her financial desperation feel so concrete, so real. This isn't an abstract problem, it's a specific, looming disaster.
So when Dorothy finally gets up the courage to beg her father for money to pay the bills, what does he say? "Get a load of this." That's his actual response. It is a breathtaking display of aristocratic detachment. He honestly sees paying tradesmen as beneath him, a nuisance he just can't be bothered with. He's living in a fantasy world while Dorothy is getting crushed by the reality of it all.
And here's the kicker. Here's why they're so poor. The rector isn't just careless. He's a chronic gambler. He's obsessed with the stock market, always chasing these good investments and, surprise, surprise, always losing money.
So this isn't some kind of holy sacrifice or pious poverty. Nope. It's the direct result of her father's selfish addiction.
Okay, so Dorothy's trapped by her father, by her faith, by her finances. You'd think maybe the community could offer some kind of escape, right? Well, not a chance. The town of Knipe Hill is just another part of her prison.
Knipe Hill is a world of total hypocrisy and superficiality. You've got the so-called coffee brigade just gossiping endlessly. You have this transparently fake political parade. The church is losing its richest members to trendier parishes. And watching over it all are the town gossips, whose only purpose in life seems to be to observe and judge everyone else. There's no real community here, just judgment. And then there's Mr. Warburton. He's this wealthy, amoral artist who lives openly with his mistress and his bastards, as he cheerfully calls them. He is everything Dorothy is not: worldly, cynical, and completely free from the rules of religion and reputation. His flirty, scandalous presence is both deeply unsettling to her and weirdly appealing, offering the shocking glimpse of a world of freedom that is totally, completely inaccessible to her. So let's just step back and look at what Orwell has managed to do here. In just the first few hours of a single day, he's shown us a character who is profoundly and, as far as we can see, inescapably trapped.
You see how this works? These aren't just separate problems. They are the interlocking bars of a cage. Her spiritual crisis is tied to her family. Her financial nightmare is fueled by her father's failures and locked in place by her social duties. Every single aspect of her life is a pressure point, boxing her in from every possible angle. There's just no easy way out.
And that's really the genius of this opening chapter. Orwell doesn't just tell us Dorothy is trapped, he makes us feel it. We feel the freezing water of the bath, the spiritual emptiness of the church, that sickening lurch in your stomach when you think about a bill you can't pay. He builds her prison, brick by painful brick, right in front of us. And that leaves us with the central, burning question of the whole novel, doesn't it? When every part of your life is a kind of confinement, when your duty is a punishment and your faith is a constant struggle, how long can a person possibly endure before they finally, inevitably break?